Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. We are back with another episode of Daily Palantir. Today is a Sunday version of Daily Palantir because tomorrow we officially have Palantir's Q1 2024 earnings. I am pretty excited. I already did my earnings preview video that will be in the description if you haven't watched that yet, where I go through the metrics and what I'm expecting in terms of the numbers. I'll be live at 3:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And it's going to be exciting. It's going to be really fun. Don't know what's going to happen to the stock. That's always a bit of a mystery after earnings, whether it goes up or down. We'll see what happens. But I think the company will progress tomorrow in a pretty profound way, just given the progress that I've been seeing. And hopefully that has material ramifications for the stock, not only tomorrow, but for the long term as the company continues to grow. Now, today's episode, Sunday edition, is going to be going over the 5 biggest deals that have happened in Q1 2024. So basically from January till the end of March, what were the deals that I saw that were the most interesting, the most important, and ultimately the deals that I think will play a role in Palantir's numbers being stronger, because those deals will end up trickling down to the numbers, and also hopefully the deals that make sense for the majority of 2024 in terms of Palantir's trajectory, but also for the next decade. These deals, I think, are strong enough to be types of deals that last throughout the next 10 years in Palantir's trajectory, and there's 5 of them that I think we got in Q1 2024. So I'm excited for tomorrow. I hope you guys join me on the live stream. It'll be really fun. Let's get into this. All right, so let's get started. I did an entire newsletter on this topic, dailypalantir.substack.com, for those that are not subscribed. I sent this out yesterday, Saturday night. And let's go through the 5 deals that I believe are the most important deals when it comes to Palantir's Q1. All right, number 1, Palantir partnered with one of Australia's leading retailers, Kohls Supermarkets. So Kohls Supermarkets is one of the leading Australian supermarket retail and customer service chains. They announced a 3-year partnership to deliver a suite of workforce strategy and analytic tools with Palantir. AIP and Foundry are going to be deployed across more than 840 supermarkets across the entire country, and they will be identifying opportunities across 10 billion rows of data. Why was this deal so important to me? There were a couple of reasons. Number 1, I had a lot of people from Australia reach out as soon as this deal came out, I think early February, and they were like, Amit, this is a big deal. You need to pay attention to this. And I was like, all right, why is it a big deal? And they were like, well, how close is a Walmart to you? And I was like, about 5 minutes. It was like, that's what Kohls is for Australians. So what Walmart is to Americans, with the tens of thousands of locations, and you can basically drive a couple miles and you'll see a Walmart, that is how Kohls has a relationship with the Australian public. And so many of the people that watch my content from Australia, shout out if you're from Australia and you enjoy the content, they basically said, hey, this is like a very interesting partnership because the products and services we use every single day, we primarily buy at Kohls. And to know that Palantir is finding opportunities to enhance the operational efficiencies within the entire supermarket, that's not only going to make our lives better in terms of just like the retail stores being stronger, more sophisticated, making our lives easier to be able to get the goods and services we need, but it created a bit of a relationship between Palantir and the Australian public. I mean, I had many Australian people reach out to me saying, I'm buying more Palantir. And the reason I'm buying more Palantir, and you can't really blame them, at some point investing is emotional as much as it is analytical. And if it's something you use every single day, I mean, this is kind of the whole Peter Lynch thesis on investing, right? What you use every day should be what you invest in. Obviously, we don't use Palantir every day because it's enterprise software, but if the products and services you're using every day are closely associated, in this case, Palantir having a 3-year partnership to maximize the efficiencies of those products and services from the supermarket that you go to every day, that can create a bit of a bond for people. And that might lead them to want to look deeper into the company itself. And I think that's ultimately how investing plays out over the course of decades. Like when you're attached to products and services, and when companies you want to invest in are intimately related with those products and services, it's hard when they're not consumer products, right? Like an iPhone or Tesla. It's easier if you actually use the product every day to invest in those companies. For a B2B company like Palantir to start working with things that people use, I mean, it does create, and the bigger Palantir it gets, the more places and geographies, I would imagine, whether it's Japan or South Korea or anywhere else in the world, if they start working with the leading supermarket chain, the Walmart or Kohls of Japan and South Korea, those investors are going to feel a bit more attached to the company as well. And so from that perspective, this was the first international commercial deal we saw that I got people messaging me saying, hey, we really appreciate this deal. We really think this deal can do well for Kohls, and we actually feel better about our investment in Palantir because it's something we can tangibly recognize versus just a more abstract B2B enterprise software that we don't fully know because we've never used the software that we're investing in. So from that perspective, I thought it was a really good deal. International commercial. We have not gotten an international commercial deal like this in a pretty long time. I mean, you have to go back to early 2023 where we got a really strong international commercial deal like this. And so I thought this was a pretty exciting deal for Palantir. Okay, second deal. Let's get into it. So the second deal that I thought was really important is the Oracle partnership with Palantir. Now, technically, this deal was like 5 days after Q1 ended. It was April 4th, but basically, I'm counting it as a Q1 deal because they were probably getting all the logistics of it ready to go, and then they announced it a couple days later. But Oracle and Palantir joined forces to deliver mission-critical AI solutions to governments and businesses. As we can see right here, Palantir will move Foundry workloads to the Oracle Cloud infrastructure. Palantir will also make its Gotham and AI platforms deployable across Oracle's distributed cloud. And that is not just for commercial entities, but also the Oracle EU Sovereign Cloud and Oracle Government Cloud. And the press release goes on to talk about how both companies are invested in protecting Western values through the use of technology, which means supplying cloud infrastructure, AI infrastructure to governments in order to protect those Western values. I thought this was a very special deal. Just like I had people from the Australian public reach out to me about Kohls, a lot of people reached out to me around Oracle as well. I had some, ex-Oracle employees that used to work there a couple years ago say, hey man, when we worked at Oracle, like we did not announce partnerships like this, like a full-fledged partnership where one company is using our cloud infrastructure and we're working with them back and forth. Like that just doesn't happen at Oracle. Oracle's a very elite company. Larry Ellison, the founder of Oracle, doesn't necessarily do those types of partnerships. The fact that they did it with Palantir was a very big deal. Now remember, Oracle wanted to buy Palantir back in 2017. So they wanted to buy Palantir for how much? For about $30 billion. Palantir right now worth about $50 billion, right? $20 billion more than that. So the companies always knew each other. Larry Ellison always knew there was something special in Palantir, but Karp and Thiel obviously did not want to sell back then because they thought there was much more potential for Palantir. And right now they are in the infancy of what I think will be a very massive S-curve over the next couple of decades. So it's interesting to see that partnership go out. But the main thesis of this partnership for me, and I wish we can get some clarity on it on Q1 because this is the partnership that honestly was the most exciting one of Q1 to me, is what does it mean for the multi-channel distribution that Palantir is going to be able to use? Oracle has over, last time I checked, it was like a couple 100,000 clients. I mean, like small businesses, the biggest companies in the world, they use Oracle's cloud. And so from that perspective, if Palantir could tap in to even, 0.05% of those clients just to try their product, much less convert to use their product, that could explode customer count. I mean, that could realistically just like explode the business. That's probably not going to happen overnight, but I want to know what type of ways are Palantir and Oracle collaborating? Like, for example, is Oracle giving, all their high-level customers easy access to just like click on Palantir in the Oracle suite of apps and then be able to potentially use them? Like, how does this partnership really play out? Because whenever we see these partnerships, they're always exciting, but I want to know, like, what is the tangible benefits on how Palantir can actually get customers from this deal? So to me, this was the most important deal. I also think as NATO becomes more important, as governments and defense spending becomes more important, as the Russia-Ukraine, Israel-Hamas situation continues to evolve over the next coming years, we're going to see governments spend more money on defense. They're going to spend more money on cloud infrastructure to protect their defense softwares. And Gotham, which is the premier defense software on the planet, if that has an Oracle distributed cloud to be able to work on with Oracle's already existing agreements with countries, for example, in the EU, Palantir should be able to tap into those countries immediately, be able to set them on pilots, and then within the next 2-3 years potentially convert them onto getting Gotham as a full package for their defense budgets. So from that perspective, I really do think this is an exciting partnership, and I think this is the partnership that went the most overlooked in Q1. And if it can continue to develop, I think this might be one of the standout partnerships of 2024 and for the next decade alone. Deal 3. This was a big deal as well. This was in the government space. We got the job done. There's Bitcoin right there, as you can see. It's almost 64,000. Army selects Palantir to deliver Titan next-generation deep sensing capability in the prototype maturation phase. We talked a lot about Titan, reading a little bit from the press release. This award demonstrates the Army's leadership in acquiring and fielding the emerging technologies needed to bolster U.S. defense in this era of software-defined warfare. Building on Palantir's years of experience bringing AI-enabled capabilities to warfighters, Palantir is now proud to deliver the Army's first AI-defined vehicle. Now, why was this an important deal? Well, first of all, let's talk about the stock. The stock exploded to $27.50 that day. We haven't been able to retest those highs yet. We'll see what happens tomorrow after Q1 earnings. But Mariana from Bank of America upgraded Palantir to $28 from $24. And then Wedbush went from $30 to $35 in terms of price targets. By the way, I'm looking in right now. Tyler from Tyler Radke from Citi. He upgraded Palantir to $3. That's literally coming across my screen right now. And Jeffries upgraded Palantir to $24 from $22 on Friday. So we've seen upgrades galore happen for Palantir, which is ironic because the stock was literally at like, barely being able to make the $10, $15 price targets a year ago because analysts just like didn't see the growth. Now the growth is here. Now the growth is coming. We can see how the growth is coming. And the government business in particular with this Titan contract was so special because it showed analysts Palantir can get $200 million in a day randomly. And you don't know how to factor that into your valuation model, which means you have to be a little bit more optimistic about the government business. Number two, the government's going to spend tens of billions of dollars on AI, JADC2. If you haven't looked into it, that is the entire sort of ecosystem of government deals that are going to be coming out over the next decade when it comes to infrastructure to be able to make sure that the government is ready and they are secure to live in an AI-defined world, which every country in the world is going to try to be optimized and ready for. Palantir, I think, has a chance to get a decent amount of that money. And if Palantir has a chance to get a decent amount of the money, then that's going to be really exciting for the government business and how it reaccelerates. Government's growing at 11% year over year right now. It's not growing a lot. It's not growing as much as U.S. commercial. But Karp and the team have constantly said, hey, the government is not going to be linear, right? It's going to happen all at once. Some years there's going to be nothing. It takes time, but eventually it will cater in the right direction, especially if we're the ones who are winning. And the final thing I'll say on Titan is that Palantir won. They beat Raytheon, which is a prime contractor for a deal that Palantir got as a software company. So this is a hardware deal with software involved that Raytheon theoretically should have been able to win. Palantir got the deal done. And it's really exciting to know that I remember watching Shyam Sankar in 2022 at a JP Morgan Tech conference basically saying we want to be America's first prime contractor, software prime contractor. And that means going up against the Boeings of the world, the Raytheons of the world, the Lockheed Martins of the world, and actually beating them for these contracts. Palantir won. They beat them. Objectively, they won the contract, which means it begs the question, how many more contracts and how much more sophisticated technology does Palantir have working on in behind the scenes that they're going to be able to deploy to win more contracts? And is that factored into the valuation model? If that's not, there's going to be more growth for Palantir. That's simple, especially in the government space. And if they're winning these contracts in the U.S. government space, they're going to be winning more contracts throughout the entire world's government space, which is the bull case for Palantir as a defense contractor over the next decade. So I think the Titan contract was a really important deal, and I'm happy we got that deal done. Number 4. So we talked so far about Kohls. That was the first deal, commercial. We talked about Oracle. We talked about Titan. Number 4 is Bapco. I am curious, put in the chat if you even remember the Bapco energy deal. This one was an exciting deal that I think a lot of people probably don't remember. Palantir Bapco Energies enter strategic partnership to support Bahrain's energy production. So Palantir's Foundry and AIP will be deployed in a 3-year agreement to help Bapco Upstream maximize its return on investment on energy production in the country and support its mission to connect the energy infrastructure of the Kingdom of Bahrain in an unprecedented way. One quote from the CEO of Bapco Upstream: "We are thrilled to announce our strategic partnership with Palantir. This collaboration marks a pivotal moment for Bapco Upstream as it aligns seamlessly with our commitment, innovation, and our business excellence. We are poised to unlock new possibilities in our upstream operations by continuing to deliver value and driving efficiency throughout the organization." Why was this an important deal? First of all, I thought this deal was massively underlooked, even by myself. I mean, I think I did a video and a newsletter covering it, but I didn't spend a ton of time covering it. Bapco Upstream is not like the biggest company in the world. What was exciting about this was, number one, it was another commercial international partnership. So we got Kohls and Bapco at the same time, right? Basically within a few days of each other. So that was good to see them happen as well. 2 international commercial partnerships. Number 2, this is in the energy vertical. And I have historically said that healthcare, energy, and supply chain to me are the 3 major verticals. Obviously defense as well, but that's an entire industry in and of itself. I think these 3 verticals can win at an unprecedented scale. And I think healthcare is the biggest one, then comes supply chain, then comes energy. Climate change and the problems we're having from a drill perspective, renewable energy, et cetera, these are all multi-trillion-dollar problems. These are not problems that are going to be solved overnight, and these are problems that primarily need big data tools, analytic platforms like Palantir, to do pattern recognition within all the data that's being harnessed. Same thing like drug discovery. You need a lot of data, and then you need to recognize the patterns and try to find the hidden gems within all that data when you're trying to discover new drugs, and then have the actual AI tools to be able to deploy to create business intelligence, which is why Bapco Upstream is even working with Palantir. I don't know much about Bahrain. I know I actually met someone from Bahrain. If he's watching this video, shout out to you, man. I talked to him the other week. And Bahrain is in the Middle East. You know, it's not the biggest country in the world. It's not the smallest country in the world. There is a decent amount of money flowing into Bahrain because it's part of that sort of Saudi Arabia, Kuwait type of region where there's a lot of money ready to be invested. And the companies there are willing to deploy money into modern software solutions to be able to modernize not only their country, their specific role in the country as companies, but to also be global leaders in different parts of businesses that they have. So when it comes to a commercial international partnership, that's the first good thing about this. Then it's a partnership near the Middle East where Palantir doesn't have that many deals with. And then it's an energy vertical. And I believe energy is going to be a very big vertical for Palantir. So you've got a lot of different things moving on with this Bapco deal. I encourage people to read the newsletter if you want to kind of see the other stuff I said about it. But I think that deal is one of those deals that's probably not going to show up in terms of like a ton of revenue, but it's going to set the precedent for Palantir to potentially get other Middle Eastern energy companies that want to use their software. And it'll be a really good case study for Palantir to be able to get other energy companies, even if they're not oil and gas companies in the future, because if they can digitally optimize Bapco, obviously we know Palantir has a very good relationship with BP, they've worked with ExxonMobil, then there's probably other companies in the future that are working on renewable energy tech and clean tech, etc., that could work with Palantir in a sophisticated way. So again, it's a company that works with everybody in every vertical, and it doesn't seem like they're slowing down anytime soon. All right, last deal we got that I thought was one of the more important ones this year in Q1. Palantir and Ministry of Economy of Ukraine signed a demining partnership. So this agreement makes specific provisions for cooperation in the following areas. Number one, digitization of humanitarian demining operations and process automation as outlined in the National Mine Action Strategy for the period until 2033. It's a 10-year deal. Enhancing digital capabilities of coordination of land release and assessment, region prioritization, and risk management in mine action. And then enabling assistance, leaving Palantir's AIP platform for decision-making in mine action also in real time. This was an exciting deal, and the reason this was an exciting deal, and I know some people might be thinking, oh, it's just like another Ukraine partnership. To me, there's two layers to this. Number one, it's deepening Palantir's relationship with Ukraine. We don't know how much money Palantir got from Ukraine. I'm assuming at this point they're not working for free anymore, and deals like this that are very sophisticated, very pinpointed, lots of details on how the deals are operating, those are deals you work numbers around, logistics around. You don't just say, all right, we're just going to do all this stuff for free. So they're going to be getting some level of money from Ukraine. It's deepening their relationship with Ukraine. Number two, it's a multi-year deal going up until 2033. Obviously, after this horrific war that has happened in Ukraine, it's going to take a long time to rebuild the entire country. And there's going to be a lot of money involved in rebuilding the country. We know that BlackRock and JP Morgan, they set up a rebuilding Ukraine fund that has a couple $2 billion in it. Like, there's going to be a lot of money that's going to be flowing into Ukraine over the next decade once this war hopefully comes to an end. And that money is going to be redeployed in a variety of different ways. If Palantir can serve as the digital backbone, and in this deal, they already have a deal with the Ministry of Education and other Ministry of Digital Transformation in Ukraine. This was to do demining. This was to make sure that people don't step on landmines and blow up and die. Like, that's a pretty big deal. For Palantir to be working for the next 10 years to make sure that they can demine the country, I mean, that also to me is just like, how powerful is your software that you are getting a 10-year contract? Like, we have to really think about this just to do that one thing so that people obviously don't step into landmines and end up dying. Like, that's a really big deal, and that's just one part of the multifaceted agreements Palantir has working with the country of Ukraine that I think are only going to get deeper and deeper over the next decade. And that part in particular caught my eye because I'm like, this is one use case that they're using Palantir for. I can only imagine the other use cases that they find in Palantir. Now, the real reason I think the Ukraine partnership is so important and why I've been overall bullish about the Ukraine partnership is because Palantir helped Ukraine when a lot of other companies decided to leave Ukraine, right? Palantir went to Ukraine and said, hey, take our stuff for free. We will be with you no matter what. Whether or not, you can have whatever ideological opinion you want on Ukraine. Should we be sending them aid, money, all that stuff? Like, there's hundreds of different opinions on this. What I believe will stay true is that NATO countries are going to look at that Ukraine partnership. And if they ever are in a period of trouble, if they ever were to, God forbid, get invaded, or if they were ever to just increase their defense budget to make sure that they protect the sovereignty of their nation, I think they're going to look at Palantir as one of the companies, one of the only tech companies that was able to be there for Ukraine when no one else was there, give them the software for free, that's widely known, and stay with them for the next 2 years to make sure that they're okay and develop a real relationship with them. I mean, this is a private company that's saying, hey, we're going to work with this country to make sure that they somehow maintain their sovereignty. I think what that means is more NATO countries are going to look at that and be like, well, what other company is out there that could realistically do that? And if we're going to increase our defense budget, where should that money go? It should probably go to a company like Palantir. Obviously, we've known that Germany, some officials want Palantir. Over the coming weeks, over the past few weeks, they've released articles saying, hey, we should get Palantir back. But the people in charge are a little bit more left-wing, and they're saying, no, we don't want Palantir because Trump, CIA, all that stuff. Like, that debate is going to go on for the next few years. I think at the end of the day, results will win. And what Palantir has done in Ukraine is just proving the results are going to win. And in the future, I believe that means more NATO countries are going to adopt Palantir, which means more money from the government side and the international government side for Palantir. All right, that's it for me. These were the 5 biggest deals of Q1. Let me know if you thought there were any deals that were bigger than these 5 in Q1. Let me know in the comments. I'm excited for Q1 earnings. The link to my Q1 preview video that I did a couple days ago, that'll be in the description, and the link to the new live stream. You can set the notification for that. 3:30 p.m. Eastern, I'll be live on this channel. That will be in the description as well. Very excited. This is going to be really fun earnings. We'll see what happens. I'm actually going to be in DC this week with Arnie, so I'll be with Arnie in person because I'm actually going to be at one of the expos that Palantir is at, so it's going to be exciting to kind of see what Palantir is going on there. And it'll be really cool to see how this earnings plays out. So thank you, everybody, for being here. dailypalantir.substack.com. If you've not subscribed, free email newsletter every single day where you get updates in the world of Palantir. And let's keep this thing going. And let's keep going on one of the coolest journeys in the world, covering one of the coolest companies on the planet. Thank you, everybody. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye-bye.